Hello Game Makers, this is Game Maker Rob bringing you the first of 3 in a short series on how to create a classic RPG battle system. In this first episode we'll be creating a structure that allows control to switch from the player to the monster and back again. I've been gifted a cold, so apologies in advance. Okay, so before we start, there's a few things I have already prepared. I've got an arrow sprite. This is going to indicate which option the player is going to use. A text box, just where the text is going to go. Just a font size 18, and a room which is 640 by 480. But we're going to be using a view of 320 by 240 and then enlarge it to 640 480. This is just what I use in my current game, so I figured I'd use the exact same method here. So the first thing we're going to need is an object. Call it obj battle. Doesn't need a sprite, but we do need to put it into the room, so we'll do that first. And we are going to need a little text array for this, so we'll say a text 0 equals attack, a text 1 equals defend, a text 2 equals magic, a text 3 equals item, and a text 4 equals run. Okay. And in the draw GUI event, I'm going to say draw the options, and option X, I'm going to have it at about 32. This is the X coordinate, and option Y, we'll have it at say 16. And we're just going to use a for loop. So for I equals 0, I is less than array length 1D, a text I++, draw text, and we want option X, option Y plus font size plus buffer. It's 2 variables we haven't used yet. You want this to be times by I as well. And then the text part, we'll just type text here. So we need to create these variables now. So text is going to be a text I, draw set font fnt battle text, draw set h line from the left, fa left, draw set v line, fa top, and draw set color C white. We also need font size equals font get size fnt battle text, and buffer, we'll have that at 4. And if we run the game, that's looking okay so far. Although I think I would prefer a monospaced font, so let me just change that now. This one. Okay, that's much better. And the next thing I'm going to add is the arrow. So what we're going to do is create a new variable, and it's going to be selected option equals 0. And this is which option is the arrow over. And we need to create a step event. And let's create a region and call it select option. And I'm going to say if keyboard check pressed VK down. We need to check to make sure we're not already at the end of the array. So if selected option +1 is less than or equal to array height a text -1, then we can increase the selected option by 1. It'll go down to the next option. Otherwise, we want this variable to go back to 0. Okay, and then for up, if keyboard check pressed VK up, if not at the topmost option, go up 1. So if selected option -1 is greater than or equal to 0, then -1. Else go to bottom option equals array length a text -1. And let's just have a little sound playing as well. SND arrow. I don't think you guys will be able to hear this because I haven't set up my recording to take input from the game, but it's just really generic movement sound, and we want this to play here. Audio, play sound, SND, move arrow, priority 1, loops, false. Okay, let's just test this now. Oh, before we do, actually, it might be a good idea to draw the sprite. That would help. So in our for loop, we want to say if selected option equals I, draw sprite SPR arrow 0, and we want option X minus sprite get width SPR arrow. And we can copy this for the Y. Okay. So everything seems to be working properly. That's good. Okay, so far so good. It's been pretty simple so far. This next bit may be what is stumping some people. It's just really getting the different turns to work between the player and the enemy. So we're going to need a new variable, and we're going to call it player turn. And we want the player to go first, so we're going to say player turn equals true. Okay. Now in the select option, we only want the player to be able to choose his options if player turn equals true. You can actually just leave it at player turn, because that's the same as saying if player turn equals true. But if it's easier, if it's more readable for you, then just type this instead. Okay, so if player turn, then do this, else no. And for the enemy turn, we'll say if not player turn, then his code goes there. Alright, so Now we want to say if keyboard check pressed, and we'll use the spacebar for this. So if option is pressed, okay, so there's our 5 possible options. And for now, we are just gonna display messages. Oh no, that's wrong. Should always be 0. Let's just initialize the message as well. We also need a variable called message counter. Now, right now, we don't need it because we only have one message in the array, whatever option you pick. But later on, when there can be multiple messages per turn, we're definitely going to need it, so we're going to start using it now. And we want to set it to 0 here. We're going to create a new variable called show battle text, and we're going to set it to false. And we're going to say if player turn and show battle text equals false. Or we can just do this. And inside option pressed, we want to say show battle text equals true. And on here we want to say cycle through messages. If show battle text actually we want this outside, so let's make a new region. Actually, let's call it message timer. So what we're doing here is we don't want to accept the player input straight away. We want to give them a few seconds to read the message first. So once the timer is past this point, then we're going to say if keyboard check pressed VK space and we need to check if there's any more messages to show. So if message counter plus, we'll do message counter is, yeah, we'll do +1. Is less than or equal to array height 1D a messages, or a message, sorry, -1. Then there should be another message to show. So we're going to increase the counter. Else place in equals false. Show battle text equals false. And let's also increase the timer. So reset the timer. She'll come here. and this should be, rather than player turn equals false, because it could be the enemy's turn, we want to say player turn equals not player turn, so the opposite. So now we need to initialize our new variables. Okay. Should we just test the game for a minute? See if this bit works. I think we should. Of course, we're not even displaying the text, are we? So in the draw GUI, we want to say if show battle text. Let's draw the sprite first. So draw sprite SPR GUI text box, and we want GUI X and GUI Y, which we're going to create now. GUI X equals surface get width application surface divided by 2. This might sound weird or complicated, but all we're doing is GameMaker always has the application surface, like without you ever having to make a surface, it's always there anyway. And rather than having to check views and stuff, we're just gonna use the application surface to work out our X and Y. So whatever we can see on the screen, halfway in the middle is going to be the width of the application surface divided by 2. That's going to be the X coordinate. And the Y GUI, because on this sprite it's centered at the bottom for the Y, then for the Y coordinate, all I need to do is surface get height application surface, and that's it. And that's the reason that I made the origin point in the bottom center, just so I could make the coordinates easy to use. So our text box GUI should be drawing now. So now we can draw the text. So if show battle text, I want to say, let's get the coordinates first. So text X is going to be GUI X minus sprite get width SPR GUI text box. So half, we want it to start around about half of the text box sprite to the left. And I also want to add a bit of a buffer. So what's our buffer size? Do I have a buffer? Yeah, there we go. 4, that'll do. So plus, no, minus buffer. So it's a little less than half of the width of the sprite away from the center. And text Y can be GUI Y, and we want to do minus the sprite height of SPR GUI text box, and then again minus buffer. It's too early for this. Draw text. We want text X, text Y, a message counter. Okay, let's try again. Alright, so it's a bit out of position, so let's do buffer times 3. And as you can see, we're going outside of the actual GUI box, so we can use a function called drawTextExt, and the only extra things we need are separation. So this is going to be the distance between lines, so we're going to say font size plus buffer, and the width of the line, we're going to want the width of our GUI sprite and then minus buffer times 6. And then we need to close brackets. Let's try that. Okay, so that's looking a lot better now. So now we need to sort out the enemy turn. So back in our step event, if not player turn and not show battle text, then let's have a small delay. So enemy timer ++ if enemy timer is greater than equal time till enemy attacks. Then we want to say a message 0 equals monster attacks. And a message 1 no. That'll do. So let's just do these new variables. enemy timer equals 0, and time till enemy attacks, we'll say 30, no, 15. Let's just see if this works now. Okay, so everything's working as intended. We've got a continual progression from player to monster, which is great. This is one of the main things to get right. As long as we've got this structure in place, we can build on it from there. Let's just see where we're up to now. Let's just add one more sprite. We'll go with the blue slime. And we're gonna draw this in the middle of the screen. Let's just add some comments first. And run the game again. It's a bit tiny, so let's just increase the size. So we're going to use ext for this. X scale 4, Y scale 4, rotation 0, color CY alpha 1. Okay, cool. The other thing I want to add in is I want to make it a bit more visually obvious as to when the player can actually input something. So in the GUI, we're going to say we're only going to draw the options if player turn and not show battle text. So if it's the player's turn and we're not showing messages, then the player can do something. and let's just add another sound effect. Sound option. We're going to go with randomize 560 for this. Okay. And we want to do it when you press space, audio, play, sound, and we also want to do it when the enemy makes their move. One last test. Okay, cool. So I'm going to leave the first part of this tutorial there. The next part is going to be making the system better in terms of doing damage, adding to defense, maybe having a few spells, probably healing and like a damage spell. Items is basically like magic, so they should be very similar. And running away, we'll just give him like a base 50% chance to run away. And yeah, we'll do a screen shake as well. We're going to do all that in the next episode. Alright, so I will catch you next time, guys. Bye for now.